All right, what's going on, guys? Welcome to Behind the Grind. So, we've had patch 10.0 for Warhammer 40k Space Marine 2 for a couple of days now, and I've had a few matches of stratagems. I've played through the new operation a bunch of times, and I've even played through Hellbrute Onslaught and taken a look at the Season Pass 2 and the overall cosmetic rework. So, I wanted to go ahead and make a video talking about my honest opinions on the patch 10 update for Space Marine 2. This is the anniversary update celebrating the 1-year anniversary of Space Marine 2, and well, it's safe to say that this is the biggest update that we've had to the game so far. So I just kind of wanted to go ahead and dissect it a little bit and, just give my honest opinions about everything that we got in patch 10.0. So let's go ahead and start with the new Operation Vortex. As you guys can see, Operation Vortex sees the return of the team to Avrax to repair the astropathic relay after defeating the forces of the Thousand Suns on Demirium. The astropathic relay has once again fallen silent, and while the forces of chaos still linger in the streets and in the hive world as a whole. I do want to go ahead and say that this is the best operation for Chaos right now. I did make a video ranking all of the operations a couple of weeks ago, and I did make this statement that we did not get a new operation in patch 10.0, and well, this was a surprise update. Like, we did not know that we were getting a new operation in patch 10, and this just kind of came out of nowhere. So I will rank this as the best Chaos map so far in the game. Not only is this map's environments extremely unique, but the gameplay is also further improved with the addition of the Chaos spawn as a new Chaos enemy. So, if you guys didn't already know, in patch 10.0, we got 3 new variants to a brand new enemy called the Chaos Spawn. And the Chaos Spawn is your essential melee attack enemy when it comes to the Thousand Suns. The Chaos Spawn completely changes the way that Chaos is fought, and well, the Chaos Spawn as a whole is just a W, I think, in my opinion, for the Thousand Suns. So, the way that the Thousand Suns used to be fought is that you would just kind of fight the Zangors and the Cultists at close range, and the Rubric Marines would shoot at you from afar. Now, you could easily deal with the Zangors and the Cultists at close range, forcing you to actually run up to the Rubric Marines and engage them in close quarters combat. However, now that we have the Chaos Spawn, you find yourself dealing with the melee enemies in close range for a lot longer, in turn forcing the Rubric Marines to actually close in on you instead of you closing in on them. And to me personally, that's just such a great improvement of the gameplay. The Chaos Spawn offers a lot of variety when it comes to melee combat. They're sometimes pretty interesting to read because, contrary to what their size, communicates, they are a lot faster than what you would think. They swipe at you pretty fast, their tentacles are pretty long reaching, and they just kind of hop around, and it's kind of like a dance. You kind of got to dance around them. They're pretty fast and nimble, and they attack really hard, and they hit really hard as well. So the Chaos Spawn are definitely those enemies that you want to be focusing on when going up a Thousand Suns team. You need to take them out first in order to progress, because if not, these guys are a huge pain in the ass, and they will take out a team if you guys are being uncoordinated and you just let a bunch of Chaos Spawn roam around. You get like 5 or 6 of them at the same time at times, and it's pretty insane. And when you have a bunch of them all around you, it's pretty hard to see what they're actually doing, so you need to focus on these guys. Operation Vortex also introduces the Mutilith Vortex Beast, which, in my opinion, is one of the best bosses in this game already. Now, the reason why I say that is because the Thousand Suns never had an actual boss fight that you had to go up against. Sure, they had the Helldrake, but the Helldrake, you're not actually fighting it, and well, in the other 2 missions, you escort the battery in order to power up the ship at the end of the mission and follow Atreus. And in the other mission, you just kind of run all the way up to a sorcerer that is just kind of, doing his thing. It's not an actual boss, it's just a sorcerer. And the demon host, once again, you just kind of capture those points. The Mutilith Vortex Beast is the first ever Chaos boss, true Chaos boss, and it is actually insane. This boss is amazing. So at a certain point in the boss fight, he will take you out into like this Chaos warp zone in which you have to kind of run away and go towards this portal, or else you will take continuous damage. And once you do that, the fight just gets a lot more insane. So he spawns the Thousand Suns to come help him. He will hunker down and not be able to get damage taken to him, and sometimes he will use the Chaos Star on his back to just spread all of this insane lasers around the map, and it's pretty insane, man. I will say that this is definitely one of the best boss fights in the game, and I will be releasing my ranking of the Thousand Suns enemies here pretty soon, since we got 3 variants for the Chaos Spawn, and we also got the Mutalith Vortex Beast. So as a whole, Operation Vortex is definitely one of the better operations. I will say that I will place this operation in my top 3 alongside Exfiltration and Decapitation for the best operation in the game. If you guys have not played through this map already, I extremely advise you to go ahead and do so. Let me know in the comment section down below what you guys think of Operation Vortex. And with that being said, we're just going to move on to another few additions that we got in patch 10.0. One being the addition of 3 new weapons. So if you guys played through the campaign, obviously you know that we had the Pyre Blaster in the second mission of the game when we were fighting off against the Ripper Swarms. But now we have the Pyre Blaster, the Pyre Cannon, and the Power Axe in their full glory. So the Pyre Blaster is a weapon that is essentially used in some of the other classes that is not the heavy class. The heavy class gets its own Pyre Cannon. So the Pyre Cannon and the Pyre Blaster essentially play the same. The Pyre Cannon just being a heavier version of the already existing Pyre Blaster and just dealing a little bit more damage while also having a higher ammunition pool. Both of these weapons are pretty cool. One little minor nitpick is that their flames that they will shoot out really blind you when you're using these weapons, and you can't really see what's going on. I think a enemy outline would prove beneficial to the gameplay if they were to add this in the future, because the flames just mask everything. You can't really see anything. It's hard to tell what the enemy is currently doing if you're blasting them with flames, and that's just a little minor nitpick. Moving on to the Power Axe, however, though, Power Axe I have a few issues with, so it is good. It just feels a little underpowered right now. It could be a little bit stronger. It has a really cool attack in which you do a perfect parry, and you can kind of do a power stance and do like this extra heavy attack and cue that alongside a gun strike. So you can do a lot of good damage with the Power Axe if you are getting a perfect parry, and this is definitely a parrying weapon. If you are using the Power Axe and you are not parrying, you are not using this weapon properly. So the fencing option for this weapon is definitely the best one to go to, since you are completely focused on that parry gameplay. But when it comes to those 3 new weapons that we got in patch 10.0, I will say I do like all 3 of them. Only the Power Axe really needs a little bit more rework, and the Pyre Blaster and the Pyre Cannon, either their flames need to get nerfed, which I don't really want because I like seeing the flames, or they need to add like an enemy outline in order to prevent us not being able to see what the enemy is currently doing. But as we move on to the newest addition in patch 10.0 when it comes to gameplay, we have the game mode Stratagems. So Stratagems is a PvE game mode in which it introduces a lot of modifiers to already existing missions, in which you will see some different things, being like if you shout for the Emperor, you get a damage boost, or a certain class gets a huge nerf, or you see Imperial Guardsmen running around the map. A lot of these modifiers really make this game mode really interesting, and like, you know, so it updates every day. Every day you get access to new daily stratagems in which you see a lot of those modifiers being applied to different maps. And then every week you get those weekly stratagems, which are a lot harder, they're a lot more intense, and the rewards that you get from those stratagems are a lot more. It's actually pretty hard when taking into consideration all of these different modifiers and players not really knowing how to play around some of these modifiers, especially when it comes to like Scream for the Emperor. I see plenty of players not using that for the damage boost. So I will make a separate video talking about stratagems in the future, because I feel like I need to make like a, not a tutorial, but like a discussion on like the best tips and tricks you can do and use in stratagems to further improve your gameplay. But speaking about those rewards, accolades unlock heroic tier weaponry and armor. As you guys can see, this is the new shop that we have in the battle barge, and you can use the accolades that you earn by playing stratagems in this shop to unlock these different armor pieces and these different heroic weapons. One of the heroic weapons that I personally unlocked first was the Xenophase Blade, and this is definitely one of the better weapons in this game. I love this Xenophase Blade, and it is extremely powerful. I do recommend that this is the first thing that everyone goes for when playing through stratagems and using those accolades. minor nitpick when it comes to accolades is that the rewards that you get from the daily stratagems are not high enough. You get a really low amount of accolades per mission that you beat, so it's not really worth it, in my opinion, to be busting your balls trying to beat some of these, especially when they're as rage-inducing as some of the ones that we've already had. The weekly stratagems are definitely a lot better to grind for because they give you all of those accolades and you can really farm those, but you can only do those once a week. You can do the normal one and the hard one once a week, so that's kind of lame in my opinion. So unfortunately you will be stuck doing the daily ones, but if they just up the daily rewards from the ones that we already have, I think that would further improve everything and nobody would really complain about that. In patch 10, we also got the introduction to the second season pass and the cosmetic rework that unlocks the champion armor sets and allows you to further customize your Space Marines with shared armor parts. So overall, this is a step in the right direction. I'm not going to waste too much time talking about this because I do want to make a separate video addressing the absurdity of a second season pass and the missed opportunities that the developers had with the cosmetic rework. So I'm just going to leave this off with overall, I think they did a good job, but there's room for improvement. There's a lot of things that I have an issue with when it comes to this second season pass. So to end this off, the last thing we got in patch 10.0 is Hellbrute Onslaught, and I just want to say a few words because I will make a separate video on Hellbrute Onslaught as well. I like it, it's fun, it's a great addition to the gameplay. I have a few issues with Hellbrute Onslaught, the first one being that we should have had like a Imperium versus Chaos game mode in which we play as the actual Imperial Dreadnoughts going up against the Hellbrutes, but other than that, the game mode was pretty fun. I enjoyed it, not too many issues with it. Hellbrute is fun to play, and the Hellbrute is fun to kill. And also, the Chaos cosmetics are also pretty interesting, if not a little grindy. I haven't unlocked a single one because, you know, I've just kind of been focusing on PvE right now, but I will be locking into PvP whenever it's time for me to make that Hellbrute Onslaught and PvP rework video. So, with all that being said, man, that's all I got when it comes to patch 10.0. Overall, for the entire patch, I do want to say that it is a step in the right direction. I do really like everything that they did here. I do have a few issues with some of the minor game modes that we have overall, but Operation Vortex is the best Chaos map. The Chaos spawn is the best Chaos enemy so far, or the best new addition to the enemy roster so far, because they completely changed the way that we fight Chaos. The stratagems are pretty cool. The Season Pass 2 and the cosmetic rework is okay at best, and Hellbrute Onslaught is fun to play, and you should go ahead and try it if you haven't done so already. But that's pretty much all I got. If you enjoyed the video, please consider leaving a like and subscribe if you are not already. Also, if you wish to support the channel further, I'd encourage you to join the channel membership for exclusive perks. I'm so grateful for all the members, and your generosity is extremely appreciated. Thanks. This has been Behind the Grind, talking about my honest thoughts on patch 10.0 for Space Marine 2, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.